Hey guys, it is April from Getting Hugga With It. This is the last video of our 2017 Sweet Summer Reads series. But today, I want to end this series with a little shout out to Canada. I am Canadian, and this year is Canada's 150th anniversary. I am very proud to be Canadian, so I wanted to share some Canadian literature that you might not even know are Canadian. And then there are books in here that I've not actually read that I've wanted to read. So this is my little shout out to Canada. Happy birthday, Canada. Let's dive in. The first book I want to talk to you about is Station 11. I don't think a lot of people know that Station 11 is Canadian, and it is, and it's amazing. If you haven't read Station 11 yet, I mean, what are you waiting for? It's brilliant. So this is a post-apocalyptic kind of book. So in this book, the Georgian flu has kind of swept over humankind and destroyed people, essentially. Most people haven't survived, and yet some do. It follows the survivors 20 years later, and these characters have decided to create a little band. Some of them are musicians and some of them are actors, and they go from settlement to settlement. I don't want to say town to town because towns don't exist anymore in this book. So from like settlement to settlement they go, and they perform concerts and Shakespeare plays. The way that the storyline is interwoven from past to present and the way that characters connect is brilliant. Emily St. John Mandel is a gorgeous writer. I am proud that she's Canadian. So if you haven't read Station 11 yet, I really think that you should. Next, I wanted to talk to you about Clara Callan. Now, this book won the Giller Prize, and it is about two sisters in the 1930s. One of the sisters, named Clara, is a school teacher, and she lives in Ontario in a little small town. And then her other sister, Nora, is a big city girl. She's moved to New York City. She's had the opportunity to become like a soap star on the radio, and she's actually become like a celebrity. And it's about these two sisters' relationships with each other. It's about what women were expected to be like and to do during this time period. I remember reading this when I moved to Toronto for 6 months or something, and I've never been so lonely in my entire life. And this book, Clara Callan, I don't know, I think it made me more homesick, honestly, but it made me feel close to my sister again. I have a soft spot for this book just because of when and where I read it, but it's also beautifully written. So if you haven't heard about Clara Callan yet, please pick it up. It's wonderful. The Handmaid's Tale, I realize, is enormous because of the miniseries, which is wonderful. And if that's your introduction to Margaret Atwood, I think that's a great introduction to read The Handmaid's Tale. But if you like that, you'll want to pick up Alias Grace. This is a book about a 16-year-old called Gracie Marks, and it's 1843. She's convicted of killing her employer and then his mistress as well. She says that she has no memory of the murders at all. So they decide to get a doctor in, and like psychology is brand new pretty much. And so he comes in and he's at the helm of this new science, and he's trying to make Gracie remember what happened in that time period. This is a beautiful book. It's a chunky one. I think it's over 500 pages, but it's wonderful. And it's Margaret Atwood. So if you like The Handmaid's Tale, you'll like this 100%. So the next two are books that I haven't read yet and I want to read. The first is Do Not Say We Have Nothing. So this follows two generations in China. One of the generations has survived Mao's regime in mid-20th century, and then those survivors' children become protesters in Tiananmen Square in 1989. This is supposed to be a really profound book. I've heard that it starts out slow and that it picks up and then you just can't put it down. So this is 100% on my reading list. I want to pick this up so badly. I think it's up for a bunch of awards right now too, so I'm really looking forward to reading that. And lastly, I want to recommend Half-Blood Blues. This is another one that I haven't read yet, but want to. This follows a black musician in Germany who is taken by the Nazis and is never heard from again. And it's about his story and his fellow musicians who loved him and was able to survive Nazi Germany. And I think it's interesting that you don't get to hear a lot about how Black people survived World War II, and you don't get a lot of storylines surrounding them, even though they were also victims of World War II, and they have incredibly important stories to tell as well. So Half-Blood Blues looks amazing. I think it also won the Giller. If you want to read something from a slightly different perspective about World War II, this would be a really great place to start. So those are all of the Canadian fiction books I would recommend and some that I want to read. I hope that you've enjoyed this Sweet Summer Reads series. I might try to do this again next year if this is something that you guys would be interested in. Comment below to let me know if you'd want that. And I will see you soon. Bye!